Good morning, brothers and sisters. This is a prophecy report entitled The Only Generation. On January 23rd, Hal Lindsey started off his weekly article like this: the price of eggs, a Mall of America security guard threatening the wearer of a Jesus Saves t-shirt, attacks on the U.S. power grid, a worldwide obsession with porn, another wave of nuclear threats coming out of Russia, a universal weakening of democratic institutions, a global reshuffling of leaders, threats of civil war in Israel, corruption in the highest levels of government across the world, weaponized AI, deepfake audio and video enabling previously unimagined levels of deception, global economic crisis, and on and on. What do these and hundreds of other things like them have in common? They are signs of the soon coming of Jesus. Planet Earth is in the throes of the birth of a new world. It is difficult, even excruciating, but it is also thrilling. We are entering the days foreseen by the prophets. Wow, just the kind of thing one would expect from the foremost prophecy teacher in our lifetime. Hale mentioned hundreds of other signs, but we will add more. The rebirth of Israel, the restoration of Jerusalem with Israel in control, preparations to rebuild the temple and resume animal sacrifices, the technology to control all buying and selling, the technology for the whole world to see the resurrection of the two witnesses and the second coming, the developing world government, the developing world religion, and the increasing frequency and intensity of natural disasters, famines, pestilence, and poverty. We are the only generation to see the convergence of all the prophecies that the Bible said would be fulfilled at the end of the age. Here are recent events that seem to indicate that the end of the age is looming. Concerning the persecution of Christians, on January 24th, it was reported that Open Doors has been monitoring the persecution of Christians since 1993 for 30 years, and it is increasing all over the world. According to the group, globally, more than 360 million Christians are experiencing very high or extreme levels of persecution for their faith. Concerning persecution, on January 29th, Paul Craig Roberts noted that the political activism is normalizing sexual perversion and making criticizing it a criminal violation of civil rights and hate speech laws. Concerning the WEF, on January 16th, highly respected writer Leo Holman wrote, "They intend to digitally enslave the world in a total surveillance state based on a global digital ID." Concerning world government, on January 24th, it was reported that Canadian Member of Parliament continues to speak out against Canada's involvement in the World Economic Forum. In 2022, Lewis said the WEF threatens Canadian democracy. On January 23rd, Lewis said, "The unelected WEF is not our government." Canadians did not sign up for the WEF's plan to create agile rulemaking in a post-pandemic world and the fourth industrial revolution. As I understand it, Dr. Lewis said it was wrong for Trudeau to be signing international agreements that impose global laws on Canadian citizens that they haven't voted for and their parliament hasn't approved. This is also happening in the United States, and citizens could lose many of their rights at the World Health Organization Assembly meeting in May. Concerning the recent WEF meeting and world government, on January 26th, Canada Free Press posted an article by writer, commentator, and radio host Douglas Gibbs. Gibbs has been on Hannity and Fox and Friends. Gibbs' nickname is Mr. Constitution, and he said unelected elitists who believe their job is to rule the world recently gathered at the WEF Forum in Davos, Switzerland, meeting to discuss the fate of all humanity and the road we must take based on their visions in order to save the world. Except they don't mean to save the world. They mean to control humanity and break the spirit of anyone who dares to stand against them. Concerning famine and hyperinflation, food shortages, extreme food and energy prices during the tribulation period. On January 27th, shortly after he became the president of the U.S., Biden signed an executive order that committed the U.S. to conserving at least 30% of America's land and water by 2030. Unless this is reversed, it will block mining, farming, and drilling for oil on 30% of America's land and water by 2030. Blocking mining, farming, and fishing and drilling for oil on 30% of the world's land and water will have a great impact on everyone's life. At the UN Biodiversity Conference that was held in December under the guise of saving Mother Earth from natural disasters, supposedly created by man's pollution and excessive consumption, the group agreed to a plan called the 30 by 30 Initiative. One of the 30 by 30 Initiative goals is to protect 30% of the world's land, water, and marine areas by 2030. Critics say the real goal is to transform the world according to their agenda. Anyway, on January 26th, the Biden administration announced a 20-year ban on mining on 225,000 acres of land in Minnesota. Another group of U.S. workers will be losing their jobs, and Biden has already signed an agreement to make funds available to increase mining in the Democratic Republic of Congo. He seems determined to weaken America. Concerning hyperinflation and a global economic collapse, on January 25th, the head of the Bank of Canada warned that Canada's economy has stalled. Growth will be close to zero for the remainder of this year, and Canada's citizens are not going to feel good. Critics blame Minister Trudeau for running up Canada's debt with excessive spending on COVID and unnecessary liberal programs. Payday has already arrived in Canada, but most of the world is facing the same problem. Concerning the millennium in Israel, God said, "The desert shall rejoice and blossom as the rose, for the wilderness shall waters break out, and the streams in the desert, and the parched ground shall become a pool, and the thirsty lands springs of water." Isaiah 35, 1 and 7. In recent years, Israel has built several desalination plants to draw water from the Mediterranean Sea and make it suitable for drinking. On January 30th, it was reported that Israel has received very little rain this winter, but Israel's system of desalination plant has filled the Sea of Galilee, and Israel will soon double the amount of water it sells to Jordan. Concerning the Battle of Gog and Magog, on January 29th, Israeli drones struck an Iranian weapons production facility inside Iran. There are contradictory reports about what Iran was producing, but the next day, Russia's foreign ministry issued a statement that said, "We strongly condemn any provocative action potentially capable of provoking an uncontrolled escalation of tension in an already far from calm region. Such destructive actions may have unpredictable consequences for peace and stability in the Middle East." Two things stand out about this event. One, Israel apparently struck a target inside Iran, and two, some analysts called Russia's statement a veiled threat to Israel. Finally, are you rapture ready?